I'm going to share my screen too so people can see what I'm talking about. And actually, I need to load up. I don't have the slides, but Greg, you have the slides. So
yeah. Want me to share I can share my screen.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, here, let me get that set up here.
Welcome everyone who just joined, by the way. We're just streaming live on YouTube right now. We're getting that all settled. So for those of you guys that are actually, yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, Greg, for sharing that. For those of you that are just joining in, Greg, would you mind showing them on YouTube where they could find the recording of this? Basically, it's just go to YouTube and search for LumiWealth.
Sure.
So if you guys want a recording of this, it's going to be available on our YouTube. Right now it's live, right? So if you want to watch it live, and if you are subscribed to our channel, which I recommend that you guys do, subscribe and like and all that sort of stuff. If you are subscribed to our channel, then you would automatically have that notification saying that we're live right now and you can watch this, right? But if you want to actually see the recording of this afterwards, because some people want to rewatch it, there you go. It's right here on our YouTube. I don't know what it's saying, unavailable. Yeah, it should be a live one, right? There's only one that's live right now.
This one?
Yeah. So you want to click on that? The live one? It says unavailable, restricted. Please check Google Workspace Administrator. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. In either case, after this is done, this will be live afterwards, and you'll be able to see it on our YouTube channel, right? I'm actually going to take this link that I have here. Right, there you go. I'm going to take this link that I have here and I'm going to post it in the chat for you guys to see. Right, so let me send this to everyone here. It's in the chat. If you could click on that, Greg, from the.
Sure. Actually, I don't see the chat message. Oh, here it is. Sorry.
Okay.
Nope.
Still says unavailable. Okay, strange. Either way, we can move on. It will be after this. I guarantee you, it's going to become a video that you guys can watch afterwards. That will. It's not live. This is a recording of all of this, right? Okay, great. Greg, do you want to switch over to the slides, and we'll go through the slides. All right. So the agenda for today, we're going to take you guys through a couple of different things. We're going to take you guys through. Let's first of all learn a little bit about you guys, who's on the call. We're going to do that. Then we're going to take you through a quick introduction, and then I'm going to pass over to Greg, who's going to talk a lot about this machine learning course and why it's such a great course and what you guys can learn from it. All right. So let's jump into the next slide, just who's on the call. So if you guys could please type this out in the chat. Let us know a little bit about yourself, right? What is your occupation? Let us know if you know how to program, right? And let us know how much investment experience you guys have, right? If you guys could type that into the chat. I could tell you a little bit about myself, and maybe Greg can tell you a little bit about himself. We'll jump into that in a second. But my occupation, my job is to run LumiWealth, right? I'm also the head instructor for our algorithmic trading course. So this is a separate course from that. There's the machine learning course, but a lot of people will take both together, right? They'll learn the algorithmic trading, and then they'll learn how to take that to the next level using Greg's class on machine learning. So that's my occupation. That's what I do, right? And that's, we'll get deeper into that if we want to down the line. Do I know how to program? Yes, I do. I've been coding personally for over 20 years. And investment experience, I've been investing for a long time now as well, probably about 15, 20 years as well. So we got a message back here from Joseph. So occupation, no programming, amateur investor. I presume that's what he's saying. So you're brand new. Honestly, this course is very open. Actually, machine learning course is a little bit more advanced, but the algorithmic trading course is very open to if you don't know how to code, if you don't know how to invest, the algorithmic trading course is fantastic for that because it will teach you basically how to code from scratch, and it will also teach you a lot about investing throughout that course as well, right? Cap says he's semi-retired, web programming for 2 years, web programming is what you do. And then 2 years investing experience. Great, perfect. This is actually fantastic. I think you have a really good time in this class. I think this would be fantastic for you, basically applying your programming skills to a new way of doing it. All right, so thank you for sharing that, guys. Please keep them coming in. I'm going to keep reading them out as they keep coming in. Another one, finance and logistics for startup. Perfect. So in finance, it's great. Do you know how to program? No. Again, the algorithmic trading course, this course, the machine learning course, a little bit more advanced. Doesn't mean you can't do it without programming skills, but it's definitely more advanced. For those of you that have no programming experience at all, I'd recommend that you guys take the algorithmic trading course as well, which will teach you how to code from scratch. All right. Okay. And then investment experience, you have quite a bit of investment experience. So that's great. Cool. Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. Greg, do you want to move to the next slide, please?
Sure.
So let's make a quick introduction. I'm going to introduce myself and LumiWealth, and then I'm going to pass it on to Greg to kind of go on with the rest of this webinar, because I know this is his course, and this is something fantastic that he's teaching, right? So who am I? I spoke about this a little bit earlier. So my name is Robert. I'm the CEO and founder of LumiWealth, right? We started this company a little over 2 years ago now. It's been going very well. We've had a lot of very, very happy customers, which is my biggest thing. I love doing that. We've had a lot of people build out their algorithms and making money off these things. So absolutely fantastic. Really, really love kind of where this is going. My background, I mean, I was one of those kids that started coding when I was like 12 years old. It's been a very long time. I'm nowhere near that age anymore. I wish. So I've been coding for a very long time. Did my master's in finance. And then after that, did a few startups along the way. We sold one company. After that, moved to New York City, basically to work on Wall Street and learn a lot about how things are done on Wall Street and how we can apply, coding to the world of finance. So I worked there at one company called Greystone that basically did mortgage lending. We built a product there. I hired a big team, and we built out kind of their whole tech team basically. And we built out a program that basically makes it really easy to get mortgages and stuff like that. These are larger mortgages, like $10 million and up. And doing that, I think to this point, that software has generated something like 60 billion in deal flow, which is pretty good. After that company, I went to a company called Voyager, which, if you guys know a little bit about crypto, is a pretty big crypto broker now. They're public on the TSX, not yet on the NASDAQ, but it's pretty cool to start a company. I was employee number 4 there. Basically, it's like Coinbase, right? Basically, it's Coinbase. When I started there, there's nothing really, and now it's public, worth a couple $1 billion. So very nice to be able to start something like that. It's definitely fun. So then, okay, so that's kind of my story. After that, I decided to leave Voyager because I really wanted to do my own thing, work on a business that really resonates a lot with like what we care about, right? Which is basically LumiWealth is all about helping people use software to improve their investment returns, right? That's what we're all about. We're about making algorithms, teaching you how to make algorithms to trade automatically, using machine learning to trade automatically. We're also coming out the course very soon on blockchain, on how you can create your own crypto coins. So we have a lot of different courses along these lines, and we're building more and more and more. So really, we're a one-stop shop. If you want to learn how to use technology to improve your investments, this is the place to be, right? That's what we're all about at LumiWealth here. The next thing, YouTube channel, make sure you guys follow us on YouTube. If you go basically search YouTube for LumiWealth, make sure you guys follow and subscribe. We have a lot of free content on there, so definitely make sure you follow us there. There's this Discord channel. Greg, do you mind putting that Discord channel link into the chat?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so you see what happens when you click on it as well. Basically, our Discord, it's in the chat. Thanks for posting that, Greg. So if you guys join our Discord group, what it really is, and I don't know, Greg, do you have this on your laptop, the Discord setup?
I have it on a different computer, so
Yeah,
but
okay.
let me see.
Right.
I don't want to start it again, but
okay, that's
see.
no problem. But basically what Discord is it's a chat group, right? It has lots of different channels, things like that. For those of you that are not familiar, very similar to Slack, right? And we have lots and lots of really good discussions on there. If you want to meet people that have made algorithms in the past, you could definitely meet them there. If you want to talk about, anything investing. There's lots of vibrant conversations there as well. You'll see our past students, you'll see future prospective students. We do a lot of our chats and everything through Discord, so it's a great way to get to know people and to have some great conversations. All right, I'm going to mention one more thing before I pass on to Greg, which is also we have a survey at the end of this webinar. Please make sure you fill that out so that we can improve this over time for you guys. All right. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce the star of the show, right? Which is Greg, the instructor for the machine learning course. He has an incredible background. I'll let him jump into that. But, something like being funded by the best VCs in the world and going to some of the best schools in the world, I think it gives him some really nice credibility. But Greg, I'll let you tell your story.
Sure, of course. Thank you, Robert. So as Robert mentioned, I'm the instructor for the machine learning course. I think this would be coming up maybe the third or fourth time now teaching it, and really enjoy teaching machine learning. It's definitely the future. So a little bit of background on myself. It's actually kind of cool, Robert. You start programming when you're 12. I have up you just a little bit. I started programming when I was 6. So I first started programming when I was 6. In fact, I won my first programming contest when I was 7.
How'd you even code when you were 6, by the way?
I don't know. Just we got a computer and started hack. It was like Logo.
Real, like actual coding or like
coding. Yeah. I used a programming language called Logo. I'm not sure if you guys may not even exist anymore. I'm not sure, but you could control a little turtle, and it was kind of amazing. I got the cover of our local newspaper for winning that programming contest. Awesome. So I've always loved programming. So education-wise, went to Caltech, Berkeley, also did some education at Stanford. I've done a lot of things from working on GPUs to product management, corporate venture, been in 4 startups. I most recently started a company that did a lot of work around forecasting. I got funded by Google Ventures, Andreessen Horowitz, Miller Ventures. These are some of the top venture capitalists here in Silicon Valley. I'm actually based here in Silicon Valley in Palo Alto. And then we started a subsidiary company called Pika Group, which I'll talk a little bit more about, which does a lot of work around algorithmic trading. So it's really targeted for day traders who need that extra help in terms of getting their algorithm or their strategy hosted and traded automatically. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But let me get into a little bit about what we were going to be doing. So the core of trading is forecasting. So when you're buying or selling any security, you are essentially forecasting that the security is going to go in a certain direction. And by the way, I just want to encourage everyone on the call to feel free to, I have a little chat window next to me, but feel free to drop in questions or chats. The point of this is to keep it interactive. So, keep the questions, as I talk about this, I'll have another screen here with all the windows open. So just tap away if you have any questions or if something isn't clear or confusing. Anyways, the core of trading is forecasting what is that security going to do, and a lot of kind of old school trading really relied on these traditional indicators like RSI, or relative strength index. And so you can see example of RSI here. Virtually all brokerage firms, trading software, all has these kind of indicators in there. And you can see that in this case, RSI broke 66. This is for the STARS group, TSG. And when it breaks 66, okay, it basically goes on a tear, right? It goes on a nice upward trend. And then when it hits this bottom part, it basically has a bit of a pause. So these indicators are used to forecast future prices of securities. And there's a bunch of them. There's probably several hundred of them out there. RSI happens to be a very popular one, but there's a ton of them out there. So, especially before like computers became really rampant, doing this kind of technical analysis using these kind of traditional indicators was very, very popular. Now, the problem with traditional indicators is that if you guys haven't seen this website, I really want to suggest this, Seeking Alpha. So Seeking Alpha is a website full of really great investment advice. And they had an article in there that talked about how algo trading dominates 80% of the stock market. So if you look at the volume of what's on the stock market, most of it is actually algorithmic traded. It's not a human there like placing these trades. And the big challenge with that is that most of the profitable trading strategies based on these simple indicators like RSI have largely been eliminated, right? So all the really easy money has been taken away. So what you're left with are these relatively simplistic, models that don't have they don't, the more complex patterns in the stock market are not really captured by these simplistic indicators. All of the easy profits have been kind of whittled away. And then as a result, it's difficult for individuals to get an edge over someone else, right? So that's why like a lot of advice is just invest in the ETF or just invest in the mutual fund, right? Because it's really hard to beat the market, right? So it's better just to do the market, like do SPY or S&P 500 and call it a day, because it's hard to get that edge with just these simplistic indicator models. So that's the problem, right? Is that first of all, you're competing against algorithms which could, trade a lot faster than you can, and usually have more fancy models. And then the simplistic indicators that used to be more informative, because pretty much too many of these trading algorithms actually are using this already. You can't really get an edge. You can't get some sort of insight in terms of the pricing or the forecast. So it basically you can make a little bit of profit, but not a whole lot anymore. So this is where machine learning comes in. So the advantage of traditional indicators is that they're pretty easy to understand and calculate. A lot of them are like moving averages or like RSI. They're fairly straightforward formulas that you can write down on a single line or maybe a couple lines. So not terribly hard. But the big problem with traditional indicators is that they're not really great at capturing complex patterns. And so, all the real easy indicators, you don't really have a very powerful predictive signal as a result, because these models, these indicators, have a limited amount of capacity to capture the more complex patterns. And because these indicators have been around for like 50 to 100 years, some of them, right? They're way too popular, way too well known, and more importantly, they're done algorithmically these days. So any real easy one, obvious kind of indicator is already being traded on heavily by these algorithms out there, these algo traders. Now, machine learning is a relatively new technology. It's been around for a long time as well, but only recently has become practical. So the challenge with machine learning is that it's computationally much more complex. It's much harder to implement. But the advantage is that it can factor in, lots of different information. So the way to think about forecasting is that you have different data sources. You have like the historical close price of a stock. You have like the volume. You may have like the earnings report. You may have the 10K. You may have Reddit. Some sort of subreddit on Wall Street Bets. You may have all these different types of data sources. And the name of the game in forecasting is you're taking each of these data sources and you're trying to mine that predictive signal in each of these data sources. So a lot of these data sources have correlated data sources where, like let's say the close price and the opening price of a stock are probably highly correlated and there's not much, additional information. But like, for instance, the close price of stock plus maybe what's on Wall Street Bets or maybe what's in an earnings report could be very additive, right, to the predictive information. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to mine out the predictive signals in all these data sources to have a more accurate prediction. And so the really neat thing about machine learning versus traditional indicators, which were created way back when you didn't have the GPUs and all the computational power that you have today to do machine learning, is that you factor in a whole bunch of different information. So you have a lot more data sources available, and this gives you the ability to get a much more accurate forecast than you could with traditional indicators. And because this is cutting edge, this is something that even a lot of large institutions have not really done, mainly because it's not very transparent. It's much harder to understand and is more black box. It's easier to get an edge over other traders on the market. So that's a big advantage of machine learning. Okay, so you heard me talk about machine learning. You probably heard the buzzword, and you're thinking, well, what the heck is machine learning? So to understand machine, let me just illustrate first what traditional conventional programming is. Like, let's say using Python. So with Python, you're taking a data, you're taking in a program, right? Like a .py file, and you're spitting out a result, right? So um, it's it's very deterministic, and it's fairly straightforward. And it's vast majority of things are done through conventional programming that you use today on a computer. Now, what machine learning does is it kind of turns it around, right? You still have an input, right? But the difference here is that the result and the program are flipped, right? So rather than feeding in a program, okay, you're feeding in the result. You flip the result in the program. So just to make this more illustrative. So with conventional programming, you may have like A plus B, right? That's the program. Is A, you're adding A, adding variable A, and adding variable B, and you're going to spit out, the data may be A may be equal to 1 and B may be equal to 2. So you'll be spitting out 3, right? That's conventional programming. With machine learning, what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be putting in 3 as the result, right? And then it'll be spitting out A plus B essentially, right? This is a fast simplification, but that's the basic idea. Is that rather than telling the computer how to do it, you're telling what you want, right? And one thing that's really interesting about machine learning versus traditional programming is the way humans learn is actually using learning. Like it's kind of like a machine learning way where you presented the results and the data, right? Because rarely this one open up your head and then move neurons around to hardwire how you're going to think, right? What the way people learn is you're given a bunch of examples, and then from there you kind of extrapolate, you kind of figure out how to do it, right? You kind of form the own program in your head, and so that's how machine learning works. So in fact, the best machine learning people are basically the best teachers. So it's actually machine learning is actually more similar to more people could associate how to do machine learning in some ways because of the fact that it's how we all learn, right? From a baby to where we are right now. Versus conventional programming is more analogous to like a brain surgeon opening up someone's brain and like hardwiring, trying to fix stuff, right? So it's much more complicated. But today, of course, 90+% of what you use today is more conventional programming. And then a little bit like is done with machine learning. Now, the reason why you want to use machine learning is because it's able to do things that you couldn't really do through conventional programming. So examples of this is like the famous example now is computer vision, right? So before machine learning, computer vision really sucked, didn't work very well. But now computer vision can recognize like a cat versus a dog, or recognize when who's coming to your house and all that kind of stuff. And the way it does it is it doesn't try to program how do you recognize a person, but it tells you this is a person. And based on this training data, it will figure out the program itself. It'll figure out like a neural network or a random forest model, and it will automatically build the program by you putting in the result, or it's typically called ground truth. You feed in the ground truth. And the way this applies to the financial markets is the stock price, historical price of a stock is, if you look at it, people call it a random walk, right? Because it looks so you can't really figure out how is it moving. But in reality, there is things that are driving it. It's just that there's so many different factors driving it that it looks like a random signal. And machine learning is really good at picking up those kind of things in terms of figuring out what program would create that versus you trying to program that. It's almost impossible to do it manually. So that's what machine learning is. And again, I just want to encourage anyone to ask questions. Otherwise, I'll just keep on going through. So if we're going too fast, let me know. Or if there's something else that you have questions on, just let me know. Okay, so I talked a little bit about how I started Pika Group. So I'll show you our website here. And so what we do is we mainly work with day traders. So we're a partner of Luma Wealth, and we focus on day traders. And what we do is we essentially take a working trading strategy that a day trader has, we'll code it up for them, we'll host it for them on a cloud, which is generally a good idea because it's more reliable and you have a more uptime and also faster internet. We provide an interface to it. We have a whole suite of machine learning algorithms that we could use for that, as well as a very easy to use backtester, and plus a whole bunch of safeguards. And let me just show you a little bit about some of the results. And first, let me just say a safe harbor that this is purely informative. It's not a forward-looking in terms of it's not a guarantee of what's going to happen. But for machine learning based investors, for those of you that know, Sharpe ratio is a measure of risk. So risk versus reward. So a higher Sharpe ratio means you have a higher performance versus the amount of risk you took. And typically anything over 1 is pretty good. So average ratio of 3.3 is amazing. It's pretty damn good. And then if you look at the compound annual growth rate, or it's typically called CAGR, they got about 42%. So really, really high rates of return. And the reason why is because what happens with machine learning is you take strategies that maybe are not that profitable by themselves, but you're able to automate them. And you can do a lot of them. So you could basically, my analogy I like to use is, it's like picking up pennies off the ground. Picking up a penny off the ground, for the most part, it's not worth it for most people. It's just not enough value for picking up that penny. But if you could pick up the pennies automatically, if you had like a little vacuum cleaner for pennies, maybe it could be worth it. And so that's kind of like what this is, right? It kind of automates that, so you can make a decent amount of money because you could automate a lot of the trades, and you don't have to sit there all day to make a little bit of money. You could scale up, right? And so that's a big advantage of why people are starting to do machine learning, and especially why people are doing algorithmic trading. Okay, so let me get into a little bit about the course. So we're gonna be using Alpaca. If you guys don't know, Alpaca is a really great, easy to use broker. No fees in terms of trading. They also used to be like pretty generous with their data. They're still generous, but not as they used to be. But it's still good. We're gonna use Python 3. We're gonna be using Pandas. Pandas is like the Microsoft Excel for Python, right? So you do a whole bunch of operations very easily onto a spreadsheet like format of the data. We're gonna be using technical analysis, which is just a Python library, and so it has hundreds of technical analysis formulas in there. Scikit-learn, which is a very basic machine learning library that's pretty popular. Google Colab. Google Colab is an interactive Python notebook. It's free. It's one of the big, best deals out there because you're paying nothing and you get free compute. Google Cloud Platform. Google has one of the strongest AI machine learning services available. And then Google Natural Language Processing. So I'm going to be showing you guys a demo. And maybe before I do that, because I just realized if I don't do this, it takes a long time for it to run. So let me get this started right away. Okay, so let me kick this off. I'll show you guys a sample run. Okay. So this is from the Pika site. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to use Alpaca. We're going to just do a back test. The market's closed right now. And then we're not going to do, so when you're, for early back tests, you want to just run it quickly. So you're not going to do the bid-ask spread, which adds more realism, because you can't, if the stock's trading at a certain price, usually you have to pay a little bit more than our price. And if you want to sell, you have to sell a little bit lower. That's what they call the bid-ask spread. And then we're not going to do any retraining. We're going to run this on, let's see, 03/10/2021. We're going to run it at the start of the market, 9:30 a.m. And then we're going to stop and run at 3/15/2021 at 4 p.m. And we're going to start with $10,000. And then we're just going to do a simple trading strategy. And so we're going to trade whenever the forecast is just a bit higher than the actual price. And that's the advantage of algorithmic trading, is that you could do a lot of trades because you're not having to do it manually. We're not going to set a maximum position, and we're going to sell everything after we're done. We're just going to use random forest rolling, and we're going to forecast 15 minutes in the future, and we're going to trade every 15 minutes. Okay, good. So let me kick this off. Okay, I just kicked it off. It's like a cooking show here. It takes a long time to run, so I'm going to let that run and then keep on going. Okay, so let me show you guys the code. Before I do that, let me kind of explain the setup here. So we're using Alpaca, which, as I said, is a commission-free broker with really great, easy-to-use APIs. We're going to be using scraping data from FinViz. So you guys may not know FinViz. Let me just bring it up for you. So FinViz is a really great website. It has like a ton of data on there. What we're going to be doing is we're just going to be scraping these headlines here. But if you don't know about FinViz, it's a nice website because it has lots of data on stocks. So we're going to be scraping that using a library called Beautiful Soup, and then we can use that for training data, and then also setting up the test data to see how good the model is. We're going to train the model, and then we're going to generate the predictions and see how good of a result it did. So let me walk through the code, and then also I'm going to show you also how you could do active trading with this using LumaBot. But let me first go through this, and then we'll go through the rest afterwards. So here we're just installing a bunch of our dependencies, and then here we're just setting up the credentials, and then this is setting up our account to do NLP with Google. And what we're doing here is we're going to do sentiment analysis. So we're scraping from FinViz the news, right? And then what we're going to be doing is looking at the article headlines and trying to see, is that a positive sentiment or negative sentiment? So we basically are using Beautiful Soup to scrape all of the text, all the headlines, and then we go through, and then we basically parse it, and we're trying to figure out, like, okay, is this positive for the company or not? And the company I'm using here is which is Agilent. Okay, so here we scrape the website, the FinViz website, and then what it does is it comes up with a sentiment score. So 0 means it's kind of neutral, 0.2 means it's kind of positive, minus 0.1 means it's kind of negative, right? So it automatically will run this and give a sentiment score, and then we use this as a feature for our model. So we have this data frame here, and then what this function here is just getting a whole bunch of data from Alpaca, and then what we're doing here now is we're setting up the training data. So as I mentioned, the models need to. Oh, actually, sorry, I just saw a question here. So great question, Cap. How much math is required to do machine learning? So, in the early days of machine learning, it was actually quite complex. You needed to have like a graduate degree or PhD to do this kind of stuff. But these days, with all the great libraries that are out there, it's easier than ever, especially with a lot of the AutoML or automatic machine learning that's out there. It makes it much easier. So you don't have to worry about so much the math. In the past, you had to kind of worry about, like, oh, what is stochastic gradient descent? What is all this other kind of stuff? And all that lower level stuff is really taken care of for you these days. So you don't really have to worry about it. So the math is not really critical. Actually, yeah, Robert just answered the question too. But yeah, so Rob is absolutely right about that. Okay, so anyways, here we're setting up the data frame for all of the features. So features are basically columns of data that we use for the model that uses as hints to figure out what the real answer is going to be. So we have a bunch of different indicators. A lot of these guys, you guys probably are familiar with, like VWAP or RSI or comma. There's a bunch of them that we have in here, and so we set that up. The one that we just did with the NLP is we just used sentiment. So we added the sentiment in here, and so I'm just showing you a small snippet of what the data frame looks like. So you have the Ichimoku and the sentiment here, and then we do the same thing on a test data. So it's the same basic process. And so this is what the entire data frame looks like when you're done. Is you have the close price, time of day, some time features, and then a bunch of technical indicators in here. And then so it gives you kind of a good idea, and the close price is what we're predicting. And then what we're doing here is we are doing this on a rolling basis. So and the reason why is because you want to keep the forecast distance the same. So we basically are forecasting 15 minutes in the future. That's what this window size here is doing. And basically every 15 minutes we are training. Just that's what this fit command does. We're training on the training data that we set up in the data frame, and then we're forecasting 15 minutes in the future. And so so that's what you see here, right? It's doing all the training here, and then we do a prediction, right? So we do a prediction, and then you could see what the prediction looks like. And then here's a visualization of the prediction. So the visualization of prediction basically shows you the close price is the actual, and the orange line is the predicted. Now the straight lines is basically when the market was closed, right? This is like a weekend, and this is during the night. So you got to look at the kind of squiggle parts, right? And as you can see, it got pretty close, right? It got pretty close to most of this. The really neat thing about using the random forest model is that it can tell you which feature is most important. So you saw we fed in a bunch of features, and you can see that the RSI was actually a very dominant feature as well. So one of the most important things to do with modeling, with machine learning modeling, is you want to know what the error rate is, right? So this is the mean squared error, is 0.26. As the stock's probably about $120 something. So 0.26 is not bad in terms of a mean squared error, and percentage error is pretty low. It's like 0.25, 0.26, percent error. So not very high. In contrast, I can show you what we did without the NLP indicator. So we're going to drop the sentiment. So let's say we didn't feed in the FinViz news, right? We want to see like how worse or better does this get without that indicator. So this is all basically kind of same thing I talked about before. And then here you see the chart. It's hard to tell. It looks kind of like the last one, but what we could do to kind of see the performance is we could do an evaluation of the model, right? And so one good measure is p-value, and usually smaller it is, the better, right? So we calculate the p-value, and we can see that by taking out the sentiment, you can see that the NLP had a pretty big effect, right? So definitely significant. So that's the kind of like the forecasting piece. Now, what we could do to also put together is using the forecast, like the prediction, right? And if it's above us, or yeah, if the forecast is above a certain level, in the case like what I did in the Pika website was I set it to be 0.3. So if it's higher than the predicted, if the predicted is higher than the actual, then buy, right? And if the prediction is lower than the threshold, then sell, right? Otherwise, don't do anything. And so to put this together, let me show you the LumaBot. Let me bring that up here. Oh man, okay, it timed out. Let me see here. Okay, I should have run this too because it takes a while for this to run. Okay, well, let me go through this slide. This takes a little bit oh, actually here it is. Okay, so let me kick this off. Okay, so let me first walk through this code. So we basically have this strategy here in this file, and then this is the main file. And so after you you get your forecast working well, right? It's fairly predictive, right? It's predicting the stock price pretty well. Then the next step that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hook it up to like LumaBot, right? Which allows you to hook up to like Alpaca and trade automatically. And so you plug your strategy into here. That's this Python file. So you convert from like a Jupyter notebook to a Python file, and then you can put this in here so that it could trade automatically. And so the LumaBot is actually kind of cool because it will drop in all these log files, right? So when you run it, it will generate all these log files. And actually, I can just run this real quickly for you guys so you can see how it works. So you just run main. And this is on GitHub, so you guys can access it. And so basically, this takes a while to run. So we'll let that run as I talk through this. But you have a bunch of log files. It will you can download. You could go to here and put your credentials in there, and you can download a certain period of data for this use for back testing, like we're doing right now. And while this runs, we'll come back to it later. I'll show you some of the results. Okay, yeah. So as a just disclaimer, right? This is more for informational purposes, not meant to be a promise of what will happen. Let's see, this thing I have to authorize here. Okay, so in the course, we're going to go into a lot more details, but we'll talk about the machine learning basics, what deep learning is, how to build a stock forecasting model, and in this demo, I kind of show you how to use all of the common indicators as features, and we're using the random forest model as I showed you, and then we're forecasting 15 minutes in the future. So let me show you. Let me see if this other one's done yet. Okay, so the Pika Group one's finished running. So I can show you what the results look like. So, okay, so we're using random forest rolling, and we did a very short period of time, but basically in the short period of time, we net about $36 or so. It had a CAGR, a compounded annual growth rate of about 29%, a good Sharpe ratio. It's not much risk for the return we got, and so that's an example of how you would use it, right? At least on the Pika website. And then let me see if this thing has finished running on the Google Cloud. So it's still not quite there, but anyways, so it's still a little bit running. But the other way of running your strategies besides using Pika is you can run it in the cloud yourself. So this is running in Google Cloud Shell Editor. You can also start a virtual machine and have it run there. But here's this. You could see that it's spitting out some of the what the return was, and a setup. And this is open source, so it makes it easy for you guys to go ahead and use it through the GitHub. Anyways. Maybe do I have something saved I can show you already? Let me see here. Yeah, so you could see kind of kind of the forecast in the blue line. And this thing's still saving, so we'll have to let it run a little bit longer. So I'll get back to that later. Let me get back to the presentation. Uh-oh, I lost my screen here. Okay, here. Okay. So yeah, so anyways, I just showed you the Lumabot training demo with forecast still running right now. Is it finished yet? Nope, still running. And then so this ran a Google Cloud Shell with VS Code, which is probably one of the most popular integrated IDEs out there. And this is what you guys will be working towards. So the goal of this course is for you to have a forecast for your stock, whatever security you have to be trying to trade, and then you hook it up to Lumabot so that you can use this to trade on that security, right? And so the deliverable, the output of this course is this Lumabot code that you guys could run either on your local computer or in the cloud, like I am right now. And so you can actually do some active trading. Okay, so while this thing is still running here, let me see, is it finished yet? I should have started it earlier. I forgot that took so long. Okay, well, anyways, so let me talk a little bit about the course, and then we can also look back at once this thing finishes. So, okay. So, yeah, so this is the machine learning course. There's several different plans. There's a self-directed plan, and then there's the live class plan. And then there's also a plan where there's project help and tutoring. I think the self-directed advantage is you can see all the instructional video. You can work at your own pace. And we keep, every single time we teach this class, we make it better and better and better. And also technology changes, so it gets updated for the latest and greatest technology. The advantage of the live class is that it allows you to have just kind of interaction. And also I found that like a lot of students actually like find partners and they kind of collaborate together. So live class is a nice because you get this really kind of a way to kind of interact and learn faster than perhaps a self-directed plan. It also includes I also offer office hours where you can schedule time with me to answer questions about your project or if you're stuck on some sort of concept. And then this is something that is also offered by Luma Wealth is to give you, if you need some specific project help. So these are the courses. So the self-directed, there's the live class, as well as tutoring help. So yeah, and then let's see. I want to talk a little bit about what we're trying to do and learn in this course. So it's important to understand the fundamentals of what you're trying to do and how to apply it. The goal of this is to allow you to make better investment trading decisions based on data versus just true gut feel or random. And then, time series is a very kind of particular area of machine learning. And so you learn a lot more about that. And natural language processing, or NLP, is really important because it gives you a data source that most people don't have access to. You understand how deep learning is applied to finance. You know how to analyze data to use it for augmented trading, and do kind of in-depth analysis. So it's something, as I mentioned, we're going to be using Google AI platform mainly because it's probably the most robust out there in terms of its power and accuracy and completeness. And you learn how to optimize the models for your financial data. So let me talk a little bit about the course curriculum. There are 3 parts to it. We broke it up. The first part is just machine learning and finance fundamentals. And what we're going to be doing in the course is we're going to be essentially building your forecast with Lumabot. So each week, we're going to be building off the last week to essentially build a working trading bot with a forecaster for you, whatever security you have to be doing. So you'll be learning about what is machine learning more detailed than we did today, some basic models. You'll be learning about deep learning and when to apply it. You'll be learn how to optimize models, especially with a lot of the auto ML tools out there. Week 2, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be learning a lot about time series forecast. So we're going to be doing kind of like essentially non-time series forecasting initially, and then we're going to be doing time series forecasting because it's a little bit more complicated. And then you'll learn about how to build a stock forecasting model. And the capstone really is to incorporate natural language processing and then hook that up to news feeds as well as LumaBot. So here are some of the upcoming classes. Basically, the next session starts October 28th. It's 8 weeks. There's a Thanksgiving and a few other holidays in there. So some of them are going to be kind of, some weeks will probably be skipped as a result. And then the next course after that is going to start January 13th. And there's some really good deals out there right now for this. So yeah, so basically, you're going to be building these 2 projects. Project 2 is actually built off of project 1. And so what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to walk out of this course knowing how to use machine learning and having a working bot that uses machine learning to forecast. Okay, good. So I think we got that covered. Okay, wanted to leave time for questions. So does anyone in the audience have any questions? So just either go to the chat or put it into the Q&A question and answers part of Zoom. Okay, Tim asked, oh, actually, there's some good questions. So Joe first asked, do you have any video of live trading? I think there might be some videos of live trading on the Luma Wealth website. So you might want to check that out. We can't do any live trading right now because the market's closed, but that's a good question, Joseph. Thank you. And then Tim asked the question of, can this be implemented on other platforms like Think or Swim? And the answer is yeah. I mean, I think right now, by using Alpaca, Luma Wealth, you can pretty much use this anywhere, right? Think or Swim or your own computer or sing about your own virtual machine on Google Cloud or AWS. So yeah, it's a very good question, Tim. This is something that can be used pretty much anywhere. Great question. Thank you. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, good question is from the CAP is how much technical analysis do you need to know and will be taught? So we're not really that focused on technical analysis. Technical analysis was kind of a shorthand before people were able to do machine learning models. So you did technical analysis because it was kind of like a mini machine learning model that would kind of tell you what's going on, but it's not terribly accurate and it's too popular. There's too many people that do it, so it's hard to make money from it. So we're not going to really get. You don't really know. You really don't need to know much about technical analysis, and we're not really going to be teaching it a whole lot, except the fact that you can use them as features. So there could be good predictive features for your model, but you don't need to know a lot about it. Very good question, Kath. Thank you. While people are gathering their thoughts here and questions, Robert, is there any other words you'd like to say?
I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. The course starts on Thursday, right? Let's start with that.
Yeah.
Right. So if you guys want to sign up for this course, everything is starting on Thursday, right? So make sure you sign up soon because obviously there's no more time after that. If Thursday, so we have a question here, Joseph, can you do this with crypto? Absolutely, you can do this with crypto. I think there's a lot of value in doing this with crypto, by the way. Absolutely. Great question, and very much share that sentiment. I think there's a huge amount of money to be made doing that. But yeah, so this course starts on Thursday. If you can't make it on Thursday, then we have another one starting in January, I believe, is the next one, right? So either wait till January or we do it on Thursday. Anything else that I think is relevant here? I can't think of anything. Greg, can you think of anything? We have a bunch of questions here too.
I think the question about crypto is really interesting because it's a new area, and a lot of crypto is actually traded algorithmically, and I think the neat thing about machine learning is that uh, unlike traditional exchanges where it's hard to get tick data, crypto you could get because it's all on the chain. You can kind of see it, so it's kind of unique in terms of availability of data for those assets. And then Cap asked, do you have testimonials? Actually, Robert, like there's a ton of testimonials on the website and
Yeah,
YouTube channel. So definitely go check those out.
absolutely. I'm just working on getting a link here. I believe it's at the bottom of the machine learning course as well.
Oh, the question is, does Alpaca trade crypto? I don't think Alpaca trades crypto yet, but there's a lot of other exchanges that do. Does Bybit, Binance, Coinbase? I mean, there's a bunch of them out there that could do it. Red Bull. There's a lot of other ones.
Yeah, Alpaca actually has a beta open right now for trading crypto. I believe it's going to be public very, very shortly. Yeah, because they actually started accepting a bunch of people into crypto beta test, and I know a couple people that got in and they're able to actually access data. So Alpaca will have crypto very, very soon. We also, I mean, like if you learn how to do the machine learning side of things, right? Applying this to doing to things like Binance or whatever, I think that makes a lot more sense. Like Joseph asks here, can this be applied to Binance? Absolutely. I think that's a much better idea to take this, apply it to something like Binance as opposed to using Alpaca or something like that to trade, because like Binance has way more coins. And there's actually a lot of our students that are talking about things like Uniswap or SushiSwap, which is even more valuable because these little tiny coins, they move a lot, right? So you could use all this stuff with Coinbase. You could use it with Binance. You just have to connect through their API and actually make that work. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So for that question in terms of the testimonials, I posted a link here. I'll post it one more time just in case it got lost in the shuffle. This is the machine learning page. If you scroll to the bottom of the machine learning page, there's a bunch of testimonials down there. There's 4 different videos. There's a couple of quotes they can read. To be honest, we got to add a couple more in there, but I think this will give you a good flavor as to some of our students. And if you want to learn more about our students and kind of like what they're up to and testimonials, I mean, join our Discord, right? Discord is great. There's lots of ways to get to know people in there. Obviously it's not the same as like watching a video and like, depends on if they respond to or not, but you kind of get a sense of the community, right? And then looking at these videos as well, you'll see kind of what people have gotten out of it and what they've done. I can tell you our students have been quite successful. They've made quite a bit of amazing things. Some of our students have gotten jobs at like Goldman Sachs, places like that. Some of our students have made algorithms that are really making quite a bit of money. That we've had a lot of really good success coming from this. So watch the videos, check us out on Discord. I think that's probably some of the best ways to get. Alexander, I'll send you a Discord link.
Sorry, I meant to do it and I forgot.
Oh yeah, you're gonna do it? Okay, perfect. Yeah. We'll send that. Yeah. Thanks, Greg. Perfect. Sure. Yeah. So make sure you join us on Discord. It's like a chat kind of thing. It's Slack basically, right? You go on there, you can get to know some of our current and past students, and you can have that conversation. Keep in mind, people are doing things, whatever. So you can pose a question. But if you want to watch the videos I think are they're made for this, right? So people can describe this, and it's like a little bit easier to see, right? Either way, whichever way you want to look at it, right? Cool. All right. Any other questions, guys?
Okay, well, guys, thank you everyone for attending the webinar. Really appreciate it, and hope to see you guys in class. I know Robert does a cap on you kind of cap it to how many people to keep it interactive. So hopefully you guys can sign up soon.
Starts in 2 days.
2 days.
Awesome. All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Greg. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, everyone.